Welcome to Guided Spirit Conversations. I'm your host, Marla Goldberg. This podcast has been created with you in mind to acquaint you with some of the most incredible metaphysicians and spiritual leaders from around the globe who have helped others change their lives. In this interactive hour, you will be offered insights and techniques to help you make a difference in your life. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening platform. And here we go, on to the show. Hello. How are you doing? Happy June. Is it unbelievable that we're now on the second day of June of 2022? It's crazy how fast this year has gone. And we have another exciting show for you. I have another exciting show for you because I have this phenomenal guest, which I feel will be very helpful to all of you listeners, because I know it's going to be helpful for me, because what Lara Wharton does, and yes, Lara Wharton is our guest. She has a podcast, if I'm correct, Listen Lightly, and she helps people learn how to relax their nervous system. And come on, let's face facts. With everything going on with inflation and those murders in the United States and the illnesses that are coming out, now we're dealing with monkeypox. I can imagine that there are so many nerves just fraying at the end. And this is what Laura's coming on to do, is to talk to us and help us learn how to calm our nervous system down and how to get back into flow, get more in touch with your bodies, and to take and love that your bodies through simple practices that she feels anyone can do, and I believe her, anytime, anywhere. As an anxious, stressed out, and always in a rush corporate lawyer, developing a consistent self-care practice and regularly relaxing her nervous system has changed Laura's life. It brought her a sense of unwavering inner peace, much more patience, the ability to recover faster from the setbacks, a healthy, energetic body, and a sound sleep every night. Watching these changes take place within herself, Laura decided she had to share these incredible, powerful, yet simple practices with others. Laura guides a broad range of techniques depending on what is best suited for each individual client. So it's called customization, including mindfulness, meditation, yoga, Nidra, which is yogic sleep, yoga, Reiki, visualization practices, chakra energy work, Ayurvedic medical practices or medicine practices, breath work, and cannabis-assisted meditation journeys. That sounds like fun. She offers private and group sessions, healing retreats that provide deep restorative rest, and teaches in corporate settings through workshops and weekly sessions. Welcome, Lara.
Thank you, Marla.
That's whoa, in a very good way, with all that you offer your clients and what we're offering the listeners today. So I'm so grateful to have you on the show so we could talk about all of this.
Me too. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah. So you were in the corporate track. You were a lawyer, and I know before when we were off, we were talking about all the various areas in law you practiced. What was the catalyst that drove you from going corporate to going metaphysical?
So, as I was going through my corporate journey, I was becoming more and more stressed and unhealthy. And luckily, I had practiced yoga, and I'd become a yoga teacher much earlier than that. When I was 20, I went to India and learned about spirituality for the first time. I was always really drawn to yoga, and through all of my schooling, it helped me stay grounded, and I knew I needed that. I was very much up in my head and prone to anxiety. I didn't even know I had all the anxiety I had, but as I got through my corporate life and my body started breaking down, I had a severely out of the blue. I was not able to, I was able to focus, but I had a lot of racing thoughts. And with tuning into my meditation practice a little bit more, because I knew I needed it, and there was like a nagging feeling in the back of my mind, like just keep going to your practice. And so as I watched myself become less passionate about my work, not excited about getting up in the morning, stressed at work, and I started even at the very end having panic attacks. And I my meditation just showed me and I started meditating more and more, and it was showing me how much anxiety and tightness I had built up in my body that I had not been aware of. And I eventually realized I'd been anxious and tight and holding on to all these positions and this tension in my body for probably most of my life since I was a teenager, and it had just built up slowly until one day my back went out. I had a slip disc, but I was just sitting down. I stood up, and I was a healthy yogi, and excruciating pain up and down my spine. I couldn't walk for 3 months. It was a 2-year recovery. I was still in my law job at the time, but tuning into why that happened after a year of thinking it was a physical injury, I turned to my meditation practice, started meditating on the pain, on where the tension was. And I recognized eventually, with just focusing on it, that it was because I was clenching. And so starting to just slow down and relax my body, within a year, the pain went away, and I haven't had pain since. And this was something doctors told me I would just have to deal with, back pain, for the rest of my life and just manage the pain. And I know a lot of people experience that, but it was all because of built up tension. And when I recognized that, I started meditating more. I started recognizing how much anxiety I had, and my meditation practice really, really started helping me. And then I started teaching some of my colleagues, and they got really great results. They were like amazed at how much better they felt. They were coming off medications after months, just of simple meditations. And that, combined with me not really happy with, or not passionate about what I was doing, I quit the law and thought I'm better, more helpful helping people in this way.
So out of all the things that I mentioned that you told me you do, what is the one modality that really drives everything else, which drives your passion for helping others?
It has always been meditation and yoga. I don't teach physical yoga, but the philosophy of yoga, the path of yoga. When I refer to yoga, that's what I mean, including meditation and breath work. And it's really mindfulness and relaxing the body. So I would say mindfulness and meditation, and you need to practice meditation to become more mindful.
Yes.
To change our brains, to remind ourselves to be mindful. So that is the main thing that I think everyone can benefit from.
So let's talk about changing our brains, because people go, what do you mean changing your brain? How do you change your brain? So Lara, how do you change your brain?
It's so cool that we can change our brain. I'm such a nerd about all of this stuff. I'm so passionate about it. When I discovered neuroplasticity, the concept that the brain changes depending on how it's used. So we have a network of neurons connecting and shooting communication between each other. And it's like a roadway system, like a system of highways and roads and walking paths of different, depending on how much those paths are used, how often you have those thoughts or those patterns in your mind, that's how big the road gets. It becomes more ingrained the more it's used. And it changes. Every day we're having neurogenesis, we're creating new neurons, we're creating new connections, and we're actually losing connections when those pathways don't get used. They actually fade away. And this goes on through our whole lives. So just understanding that we can change the whole way that our brain works simply by thinking our thoughts on particular roadways of the ways that we want our brain to work, and staying away from the ones that are not helpful. So, yeah.
Would you say, so, okay, so it's one of these things of we need to use it or you lose it, number one. It's like exercise, right? If you don't work out, you could be a bodybuilder, and if you stop, it just falls flat. But does it have muscle memory as our muscles do? Do those neurons and those pathways have the muscle memory where if you start using, so if you were a positive thinker and then you went into a funk, and then all you could barely stop all the negative self-talk, and then you finally found that exit way out of the negative self-talk and you start with the positive self-talk again, those roads get dug deeper once again.
Yes.
Is that how that works?
Yeah, it remembers. And so you can meditate. Well, meditating, I think, is really just practicing the mindset that you want your brain to have. So being present, being kind, being patient. And so then you become more present, kind, and patient when you practice that. And when you notice, we might have a lot of negative self-talk, most people do, and thoughts that aren't useful or helpful, and a lot of our thoughts aren't even true. So when we shift from those thoughts to more positive thoughts, more loving, accepting thoughts, then it starts to happen automatically. It takes practice and effort at the beginning, but eventually those old pathways will actually completely disappear. So you won't even believe that anymore. I'm amazed at the things I used to believe because I've let go of those pathways and created new pathways that are much more helpful to the way I want to be in the world. I've created confidence and self-love that way and acceptance. And now that happens automatically. I don't have to try as hard. But when you go off the meditation path for a few months, you can start to move back into those older pathways. It depends on your environment, but I don't know that if you meditate for a week, it's going to last forever. You got to keep working on it, like you said.
Well, it's like, I have a few analogies about that because it's like energy healing. You don't just brush your teeth once and never brush your teeth again. You never wash your face once and never wash your face again. I mean, it has to be something that's kept up so that if you want a nice, clear, clean complexion, you've got to do something about it and not just let the grime and dirt build up on your face or teeth or whatever, area of your body you're talking about. But I agree totally with that. So people with negative self-talk, how do they, if they say, okay, what could be the first action step I can take for my benefit to stop this negative talk and to start walking into a more positive mindset?
One of the easiest things you can do right away, is meditate. Because we need to be able to notice and be aware of the negative self-talk before we can't change anything we're unaware of, right? So
Right.
Sitting in meditation, and by that, there's a lot of different meditation techniques, but what I'm referring to here is just mindfulness, just sitting and just being aware of the workings of the mind. Just watch, and you'll notice the negative self-talk, or what if you notice something you want to change. What I've done is, I used to call myself an idiot a lot, and I noticed that, and one day, I realized once I noticed it, I realized I did it all the time, but I had never heard it before. And I thought, okay, how is it helpful for me to be a confident, successful person going around the world if I have this voice in my head calling me an idiot a few times a day? And so when I heard, but I wasn't aware of it until I meditated and paid attention. So first, you got to notice. And then once you notice, you can kind of set up an exchange. So when I heard myself call myself an idiot, I would immediately repeat in my head, no, you're amazing and confident and you can do everything and you're not an idiot at all, and go overboard. And at the beginning, I didn't necessarily believe it, but with repetition, consistency, eventually, now I almost never call myself an idiot. And when I do, it's kind of funny because I don't believe it anymore.
It's more tongue in cheek.
Yeah, exactly. So setting up an affirmations are wonderful. And that's just a positive statement that you repeat to yourself until it becomes true.
So if somebody says, how do I put together an affirmation? Can you guide the audience to put together their own affirmations?
Yes, I have a wonderful exercise actually that everyone should do. I do this every 6 months myself. So we have a lot of beliefs about ourselves that limit ourselves, like limiting beliefs that say, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy of love, I'm not good at my job. People don't like me, all those things. Like, I'm not creative.
I don't deserve.
Yes.
I'm not
So
enough. I don't deserve. Those are big ones.
exactly.
Yeah.
So writing a list of those, and it's not super comfortable. And at first they come slowly, and then all of a sudden you'll notice, at least when I started doing it, all of a sudden I'm writing a long list. They're coming quickly because they're in there. So taking a piece of paper and on the left-hand column, writing limiting beliefs at the top and writing all those negative things that you deep down think about yourself. And then on the right-hand column, put affirmations at the top and turn those into their opposites. So if it says, I'm not creative, but I am absolutely creative, and I put an exclamation mark at the end to really enhance it.
Drive that home.
And yes, it makes it feel more like, So I'm not worthy. Like, I am worthy. You can change that into, I am worthy of all the love in the world. I'm not loved. I am loved by everyone, and I love myself. Again, they might not feel true at the beginning, but you can make those true. And then go down the list, and you can look at the two lists. You can even question, like, the limiting beliefs. Why are you here? Are you helpful? And what would happen if I let you go? This is a journaling exercise you can do kind of after. Journaling is amazing for mindfulness practice. And then pick an affirmation on the right-hand column and work with that one. Just repeat it every morning, every night. Write it in your journal. Work with it until it becomes true. And then you can move on to the next. I've done this exercise for 5 years regularly, and my list has gone from pages long to a lot shorter.
Nice. I like that. It reminds me of a matrix practice, where you put down the negative and then you turn it into a positive.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it even works with manifesting a relationship. I mean, it's what I did to manifest my relationship.
Oh, I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. This isn't your time, so I'm not going to get into that now, but we'll talk off air about that. So, relaxing. So we know meditation is relaxing. What other things? You have yoga nidra, which is yogic sleep. Now, is that helpful for relaxation?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I think it's the most helpful. So all of the techniques that you mentioned that I teach and I work with my clients on, they're all ways to release the tension that we accumulate every single day. And like you said, with toothbrushing or washing your face, it's maintenance, and it has to be done regularly because we accumulate tension regularly. Every single time you look at the news or have a difficult conversation or look at your inbox or anything, go out into the city and it's overwhelming or loud, you're accumulating tension in your body, and it might be subtle. Like me, I didn't notice it for 20 years, but it is accumulating. And unless you are regularly releasing that tension, then it's going to accumulate and cause you an injury or a disease or mental difficulty or stuck emotional issues. Like it's like cleaning the floor. You have to get rid of it. So all of the techniques I teach people are just relaxing the nervous system to release that tension. Meditation could be done every day. Yoga nidra could be done every day. And yoga nidra, I find, is even more helpful than meditation for the modern person who has a lot of this accumulated tension, because it requires you to simply lie. It's called yogic sleep, the translation. So you lie down on the ground or on your bed, anywhere. Make yourself as comfortable as possible. You can put a recording on. Eventually you can do it yourself, but for a long time you can use recordings. And then you just lie there and listen and try to stay awake. There's no focusing, there's no concentrating, there's nothing you have to do. You just listen and stay awake. And it puts you, the specific language and pace of the practice, it's quite technical, really. It is an ancient technique to put you into a space between awake and asleep. And it's actually a different base of consciousness called the yoga nidra state.
Would it be like your theta state?
Yes, exactly. The deep rest state. Yes.
Okay. So
And
what happens if somebody drowses off, if they fall off? What happens?
it happens all the time, especially when you're just beginning, and you get all the benefits. It doesn't matter. But when you want to be able to stay awake. So the body goes to sleep into that theta state and you receive deep rest. All of the healing mechanisms of the body are triggered. It's even more restorative than regular sleep. They say 1 hour of yoga nidra is equivalent to 4 hours of sleep for healing for the body. So while your body's in that state, you want to try to keep the mind awake, but I fall asleep still sometimes, and you'll get whatever you need out of the practice. It will be healing, it will be beneficial, but if you can stay awake in this state, you go into almost like a dreamlike state where your subconscious and even your unconscious rise to the surface. So if you can stay awake, you can witness those like imagery or visuals or feelings or emotions that are rising from the subconscious or unconscious, and you can release those while the body is in this deep state of rest. So it's a very powerful practice, but for the modern person, if you need deep rest and deep nervous system relaxation, I think it's the most beneficial practice to do.
So I'm going to assume on listenlightly.com, you have a whole plethora of visualization or these guided meditations, these yogic sleep meditations, as well as other meditations to help relax the nervous system.
I have a bunch of meditations on my website. Yes, I have one yoga nidra on YouTube under Listen Lightly. But otherwise, most of what I do is do private sessions with people or groups.
Okay.
And so that I can customize or tailor the session, and we do a little bit of breath work, total relaxation. So it's an hour of just as much relaxation as you can get. And then I can tailor the yoga nidra practice for the person, for their personality, for what they're looking for what they're having a hard time with. And then, so we do the private session, and I then give them the recording, and they can work with that recording for a few weeks or months until they're ready to come back and go a little bit deeper with me.
Do you offer, and I'm not trying to make you offer something you don't, I'm just curious for the listeners who might want to have a conversation with you before signing up, do you offer a consultation, evaluation, where you could talk to somebody and they can tell you what's going on and you could say yes, no, or whatever it might be of what you can do to help them?
Yes, a lot of my clients email me through my website, and then we can set up a call. We usually set up a call and talk about what they're looking for to get out of these practices. And I then can recommend what practice I think will be most helpful for them. If it's the yoga nidra, the meditation, the cannabis ceremonies, I do another really deep release.
That's my next question is about the cannabis meditations. Let's talk. Can you do that remotely?
Yes, it's amazing.
Let's talk about how that works.
So they're cannabis-assisted meditations. I call them meditation journeys because that's how it really feels. And cannabis is a medicine that is completely non-harmful. It actually has a ton of health benefits. It lowers inflammation, reduces physical tension. It has actually been shown to prevent and cure cancers of all different types and delay the onset of Alzheimer's. It's a beautiful medicine that I think traditionally has got a bad rap, but no one's ever died from cannabis, ever. There's almost no counterindication. So it's a very safe medicine, and it's easily accessible for people in Canada and the US, at least nowadays. And when you take it with intention in this particular way that I create a ceremony, I make sure that the person feels incredibly safe and seen and is completely comfortable. When you take it in that setting with breath work, with meditation, with visualization, and with music, with different types of music, depending on what we're trying to get out of it, you enter a state where you are incredibly aware of your body. It brings you into your body, and it brings you into a space of more creativity and visual and imagination, you can feel the energy moving in your body. Like it heightens what is in your body. So it helps you, all this tension I'm talking about, from day to day, we store in the body, like every emotion you have, every reaction, every negative mental pattern, thought, those are all stored as physical tension. And so cannabis, and I usually work with people to get into the body first and find like where do you feel the tension? It's the easiest way to resolve emotional and mental tension is find it in the body and relax it. And that's what I did with my back. That was a lot of childhood trauma issues I was holding in my lower back, that when I focused on it, I saw my insecurities there. I worked with those, with understanding them, and then they released. Cannabis kind of gives you almost like a magnifying glass on the body. And when you're in a safe environment with intention to use it as a wellness remedy, and especially with a guide, then who I can help you kind of go deeper into the process if you want that help during the ceremony. So you can go into the body, find what it is. Sometimes I've had memories from when I was a kid, things I've never remembered before, traumas come out of my shoulder, like, oh, something's bothering my shoulder, let's go there. And the cannabis just helps to move the energy. It helps me focus on it. And all of a sudden I've had memories come up. It's amazing for PTSD, for releasing any type of emotional trauma. It's a really, really beautiful medicine. And most people afterwards feel incredibly relaxed and rejuvenated and calm and clearer.
So 2 questions. Indica or sativa hybrid? That's one question. Does it make a difference?
Absolutely. The modality that I share and practice is out of medicinal mindfulness. It's a school in Colorado, actually, where I trained. And they recommend, there's a book called Breaking the Gate by Daniel McQueen, and he's set this school up, and he's figured out this beautiful protocol for these ceremonies for healing. We blend equal parts of sativa, hybrid, and indica.
Oh, interesting.
And yes, because all of cannabis contains all these cannabinoids that all do different things for the body. They each have a different chemical reaction in the body, and cannabis can contain up to about 85 cannabinoids in each type. So when you blend different types together, when you blend a sativa and an indica, the heady kind of anxiety effects of the sativa cancel out with the lethargic, like indica-couch effects of the indica. And you're left with there's a synergistic effect of the cannabinoids that enhance the psychedelic effect of cannabis. So it is a psychedelic, especially when used in this fashion. You can have very, very deep psychedelic experiences simply by doing that blend. And then the hybrid is kind of a heart opener. So we blend like as many types as possible, because the more you blend, the more synergistic the effect. So I'll usually do 2 or 3 indicas, 2 or 3 sativas, 2 or 3 hybrids, and yeah. But you can also do it with the weed that you find off the street. It doesn't, not, we don't do that anymore, but just to say, like, any cannabis. Yes. Depends where you are.
Right.
But it's always going to work. But ideally, in the setting when I'm setting this up as a healing session, we try to blend.
I find this so fascinating. So when you say it is psychedelic, is it based on the cannabis, or is it the fact that the effect of because cannabis itself, even though sativa is supposed to, like perk you up and keep you going, it doesn't always work that way, in my opinion. So, but you're when you smoke pot, you traditionally are more relaxed than, saying, okay, I want to go clean the house. Like if you just did a hit of Coke, and not that I'm suggesting anybody do that, but you know what I mean? When you do something speedy, you want to be active and move. When you're doing something to relax you, which I feel cannabis does, it's more of brings you into a place of floating. Is the best word I can use right now. So how does that, where does the psychedelic piece come into this?
So setting. For all psychedelics, it really dictates what type of experience you're going to have and what you're going to get out of it. So the setting, again, I mentioned being really safe, setting in intentions for I'm here to heal, I'm here to see, I'm holding on to and to release that, and getting the help of this medicine. I've had experiences as like intense. I think the music, the breath work can enhance it as well. Okay. The visualization, but the blend, again, that will enhance it. But cannabis is, even on its own, most of the time, I agree with you, it's a relaxant. It gives you a dreamy feeling. It slows you down, which I love all of those aspects of it. But I've had experiences before I learned about this protocol and that it even could be healing. I was using it just self-medicating, I guess, not recognizing even how good it was for me. And I've had moments of sitting outside in a park in the evening, watching the stars, smoking a joint, that have changed my life, that all of a sudden these downloads or wisdoms or inner knowings come. And like, I had that 10 years before I even started using it in the way I use it now. So I do believe there's a magic or in the medicine. It's communicating with us, it's helping us.
And that's why shamans used it back in the day, like they found that in peyote, which has a similar effect in my opinion, and like hashish. They all have their purposes, but it's for most of the people, I feel that it just brings them into like a chill factor.
Yes.
Which then again will help relax you and your nerves to begin with. And then when you go into the following your guidance, you get into that whole deep introspective kind of place. Would you agree with how that works?
1,000%. Yeah.
Okay.
And you can access deeper into yourself when you're focusing on it, on this medicine, and access your intuition, your inner knowing. You can travel through the body. That's how I guide my clients. Like, come into the body, use your imagination. Like, what does it look like inside your heart? What's there? Sometimes there'll be people, like an inner child at a particular age that's asking for attention, that before we were too busy and not paying attention enough to sink in. It helps us sink in and get in touch with yourself better.
So do you ever do retreats where people, you bring groups of people together to go through these processes in a safe space, but where there's support within the group, so that you can, what I'm visualizing, what's coming into my mind's eye is, in sound healing, you lay down on your mats and there's music playing, the sound, the bells and the chimes and the gongs, and, to raise the vibration and to heal. But I could almost see doing something like this with everybody following your voice and the journey, having their own experience, but yet being together. Do you ever do anything like that? You're shaking your head, yes?
And it's so... Yes. Sorry, I might have skipped a beat there with the internet, but yes. I do groups, and I'm actually building a retreat center in Canada that construction will be finished this summer. And I spend the summers in Canada and then the winters in Mexico, here in Sayulita. So once my retreat center is done, I'm going to be offering these retreats in hopefully starting in September. But right now I do individual groups. So I'll go, like a group of people will get together, or I'll just schedule one and we'll do up to 8 people and do it as a psychedelic ceremony. And they're very powerful. But I also do them online in groups as well. So like 3 different people, maybe friends who all want to try this. It works just as almost, it works just as well online. There is extra magic if you're in person, but the retreats are what my passion is. I think retreats have saved my life or changed my life. I think everyone should go on retreat once a year to deep dive and reset, and that is exactly what I want to be doing. So hopefully next winter I'll be doing one of those here in Mexico and start adding.
So you have on your website, I'm going to assume, where people can subscribe to a newsletter so you can let them know when all these new exciting things are going to happen, so they could sign up for it?
Yes, exactly.
Nice. And let's see, what else? Because I love this whole idea of the cannabis meditation. And I have to be honest, I never thought about doing it that way myself. Like at night, just to have the chill effect and to have a journey.
It's so beautiful. And once you know how to do it, like if you did, you can do it yourself. It's crazy how different it is with a guide. Like I still practice them with my teachers. Once a month, I'll get online and go through a ceremony. But in between, for maintenance, I do one maybe once a week, usually on a Sunday afternoon when I know I have a few hours. It takes about 3 hours. And I'll smoke, or I'll set intention, I'll set the space. It's very, very intentional. And then smoke, you can vape, whatever your preferred method, not eating because you don't know, it's harder.
When it's gonna gauge, you can't gauge it.
Exactly. But smoking, right away. And there's, Terrence McKenna said, there's no, I'm going to butcher the,
paraphrase.
Quote, paraphrase, yes, thank you. That you can't smoke enough cannabis, but it's worth trying. Like once you get comfortable with this modality, you don't have to worry about hurting yourself. And then just lie down in your safe space, put some therapeutic music on, whatever you like, or you can even look on Spotify. There's psychedelic cannabis playlists, and just lie there and see what comes up. It's really easy. And I think a lot of people are worried about cannabis because they smoked before and it brought anxiety or paranoia. Mm-hmm. And what the medicine is doing is just bringing out what's already there. We say a symptom is something halfway out in the cannabis healing world or training that the world that I'm in. So if you experience paranoia or anxiety or fear, go towards it, see what it is. And it means it's halfway out. It means you're releasing it. It's actually a good thing. And it's not something to avoid or repress, because then it's going to still be there. So the medicine doesn't cause that. It just highlights what's within you already.
So does this help when somebody has very specific physical ailments like IBD or is it IBD in dogs and IBS in humans? Same thing, like stomach issues. Because a lot of times when we're stressed and our nerves are on edge, it affects the digestive tract, your stomach, your small intestine, your large intestine, your colon, and has issues. So could this very much be a support tool for physical illness?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of the healthiest things you could do if you're physically ill. It counteracts, and it's one of the deepest ways that I teach to release that tension and stress. That is what causes all of, 95% of illnesses and diseases are caused by or related to stress. I've used it with people with intense illnesses, and and it's helped bring them also peace of mind. Even people nearing the end of their life, it brings you more peace, and relaxes the whole system.
Nice. So, oh God, I just had a thought in my head, and what about the munchies? What do you do about that?
I am always so hungry after a ceremony, and I don't think I think it's your gift to yourself after. Get some healthy snacks after, and some chocolate, but some Whole Foods. It's nice to have something crunchy, like chips,
salty, crunchy.
But set that up with my groups. I do. I have trays of food that we pass around after when everyone's coming out of the experience, and it feels really good to eat. Just go for it. Treat yourself. This is all about self-care and loving yourself and taking the time to, like, all the time you put into yourself and to take care of yourself, to heal, you get out tenfold out of that. It's showing yourself that you love yourself. So treat yourself. This is for you. You deserve it.
I love that. So let's talk about the key to success with all of the practices. Continuity in doing it in the practice?
Yes. What I say is there's 3 ingredients actually to success in these practices: patience, consistency, and kindness. So start with consistency. We kind of went over that. It's house cleaning. You gotta do it. Patience is key because it's not going to be immediate. You might have immediate revelations, and it's the deeper practices. You probably will, but it takes a little bit of time. And even when you meditate, sitting down for 10 minutes is hard. You need patience to do it. Otherwise, you're just going to get up and quit. So practicing patience with meditation. Are you still there?
I am still here.
Shoot.
Can you see me?
You there, Marla?
I'm here.
Yeah.
I haven't
back.
lost.
Sorry.
That's okay.
This is as good as internet as you can get it.
We do the best we can with what we've got, right?
Yes. So consistency, patience. It's hard to meditate. It's hard to, when you start, you just got to sit through it. You got to do it. You will get the results. Patience, and in the longer term as well, it's going to be up and down, just like life. You got to stick with it. And then kindness.
But don't compare either. If you're doing it in a group, if somebody's sharing something, don't sit there and go, oh, mine wasn't like that. I want that. I mean, yours is exactly what you need in the moment. I think that's what people need to understand.
Yeah. You are getting everything you need from the meditation, the Nidra, the cannabis ceremony. And that's a really good point. And being kind to yourself. I guess it's related. Like,
yes,
being patient and gentle with yourself with whatever comes up. And you're doing a really good thing. If you're doing any of these practices, you should be really proud of yourself and give yourself a lot of credit.
You're gifting yourself something very special and something that you normally wouldn't give yourself time or space for. That's my feeling. I could be wrong, but
I agree. That's why I have to help people do that. And once you get into these practices, they're wonderful. They're like coming home every day. It's like resetting. They feel amazing. It can take a bit of effort, but eventually they become effortless, and it's what you want to do. It's like treating yourself.
I love that. I love to treat myself. So I'm going to take a pause. It's charity shout out time, and I love your charity because, I talk a lot about helping, the people in Ukraine, and you have Save the Children, which is Ukraine Emergency Fund. And the website is savethechildren.org/us/where-we-work/Ukraine. And so we're going to put that in the blog, but let's talk about where you found, where you heard about this. And I mean, it's almost like what's the right way of saying this? A no-minder to know why it's so important. But how did you find it? Why is this, out of all the charities, the one that's near and dear to your heart?
Well, of course, Ukraine has been, forefront in everybody's minds lately. And seeing all the images of what's happening there is so heartbreaking. And the helplessness of children who could deserve more help. They have nothing to do with what's going on. They're hardest hit. They have the least amount of resources. They have the least amount of choice. They shouldn't be involved, but they are. And anything that could help them and not, hopefully I found this charity because it seemed like the one that gave the most money directly. I did a bunch of research to make sure that the money was hopefully going to the children and maybe helping traumatize them a bit less so that they can live healthy active adult lives, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, what's going on there is, especially for children and women or females, because they're not just women, where they're getting raped and taken for trafficking and just all these horrific things. They're war crimes. And I mean, it's bad enough to have that in general, where a child may not be safe in a store and you have to keep them near you, but now you're in the middle of war. And these people are going in and doing all these destructive actions, which is heartbreaking. Because, like you say, they don't have the capacity.
Yeah. And this charity also, they work with children, but also families with children, women with children.
Nice.
So provide safe spaces. They create spaces and give food and resources and shelter sometimes. So hopefully it helps.
Well, I hope so too. So please check out savethechildren.org. And the actual website will be on the blog, so you don't have to hurry and write down my fast talking ways. So save the children. So thank you for that. Okay, Lara, we have a little bit of time left. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you really want everyone to know?
I think that we kind of already went over it, but the importance of the daily housekeeping of your physical, mental, and emotional body. And you can do that all in the physical with the practices I've mentioned, but you can, this is what. That maintenance doesn't have to be like taking time to formally meditate. It can be whatever relaxes you and brings you into the present. So you can be releasing and softening and relaxing, which is what everything I teach tries to help you do, in every single moment. So you can, anytime you can take a deep breath and then exhale and soften a little bit. And these techniques I teach help you get better at that. But it is really something that you can be doing all the time. When you're having a conversation and you notice yourself tense, your ego kind of tense up, take a deep breath and relax the position, relax where you feel the tenseness in your body. And one thing I practice 100 times a day, and so you can be healing all the time. It doesn't require time set aside. But whenever you feel tightness in the body, which is, at least for me, it's still always, it creeps in every 5 minutes. If I feel it in my jaw or my throat or my shoulders or my hips, just notice where the tension is. Take a deep breath into the tension to create space, and then exhale, soften in that space. And what I mean by soften is just like, if this is the tension, you're gripping something, just let go of it. And it actually takes less energy to let go than it does to hold on. And with practice, you'll get better at this. So the first deep breath, relax where it feels tight. One more deep breath, relax all around that area. And then the third deep breath, relax everywhere else. And using that technique, along with the other deeper practices once in a while, you'll be able to stay calm.
And you're a yogi, so and that's when you're doing a yoga practice, you breathe, and every time you exhale, you can push the position just a little bit further, which then helps with the stretching and focusing on the breath, which brings you the relaxation that happens in yoga. Because when I do my yoga, I feel like I've had the best workout in the world, because you're focusing on your breath, which takes your head out of it, and you're pushing your body just as far as it'll go and no further. So it's not a competitive sport. It's a self, awareness kind of sport, which is what you're talking about, which is awareness.
Yeah, that's what yoga is. Yeah, bringing yourself into awareness with using the body, noticing, breathing it through it.
And the breathing. So the yogic breath, where what is it? You use your thumb and your third finger or your pinky or something, where you change your nostrils?
Yes.
Oh, ring finger. That's very hard for some people. And now, is that part of the distressing kind of yogic breathing you were talking about? And maybe you can
Yes.
explain this breath better than I can.
Sure. That one you're talking about is called Nadi Shodan in Sanskrit, or alternate nostril breathing. And it is incredible for balancing the nervous system, for bringing us into calm, for helping sleep. If anyone has sleep problems, do that right before bed. So the way you do it is nostril, breathe in through the, usually you start closing the right, breathe in through the left, close both for a moment, and then exhale through the right. And then inhale through the right, close both for a moment, and exhale through the left. And that's one round. You do 10 rounds of that. It's balancing the two sides of our brain, of our body. Nadi Shodan means, nadis are the energy channels in our body, and Shodan means cleansing. So you're cleansing the energy channels in your body. It's amazing for depression. Hillary Clinton said she used that to stave off her depression after losing the election. I remember reading that in her book, and I was like, that's a good selling point. She said that was what cured her of the depression. It's just really good for your body. So when I do my sessions with people, that's why I like working with people live, even on the computer, but one-on-ones or groups, we will do that before a ceremony, a cannabis ceremony, or even yoga nidra, or even meditation. We'll do that, or there's lots of other breathing exercises, but that is definitely one of the most powerful.
Yeah, that one, when I found it, when it was introduced to me, that's how I found it. It wasn't like I dug it up, but it was incredibly powerful. That and doing, I think they call it dragon's breath.
Yeah.
The dragon's breath, I think, is also very powerful because you're really having to get up the repressed energies and emotions and getting it out. Could you want to explain more about dragon's breath?
Is that breath of fire that you're talking
Yes,
about?
that's what that to me is a dragon. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it is called that. I can't remember, but yeah, just wanted to make sure. So dragon's breath, or this one, the way you do it is by focusing only on the exhale through the nose in a quick spurt, and you kind of pump your stomach in. So and I don't know if you can see that. My stomach's pumping in and out.
I can see it, but some people can hear. Well, some people will just be on audio, so they'll just hear it. But your stomach is pumping in and out quickly. So here's one thing, a public service announcement: blow your nose before you do this breath. So
yes, the other one is I always pass around Kleenex before we do any of these things. Yes, and so all you focus on is the exhale, and then the inhale will happen naturally. And doing 20, you can start slow. You don't want to, this is a very powerful breathing technique. So start with 20 in a row, and maybe 2 sets of that. And then you can build up, but maybe even less, maybe 1 set. And it really stokes the fire within us. We're focused on that.
In the third chakra.
Exactly. The Manipura. So it's stoking the fire, and what does fire do? It burns up what is stuck. It moves. It cleanses. It clears. It rejuvenates. That's what it does to the earth. It's what it's going to do to us. So that breath is not one to do before bed.
No.
It's one to do when you're feeling like you need a coffee, or like you need something. A pick-me-up, exactly. You can do that one, and you will feel the fire within yourself, and it cleans.
Yeah, I love the fact that it really just gives you more energy when your energy starts to wane. So, yeah,
it's so amazing what these breathing techniques can do. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
They're so simple. They're so simple, and anyone can do them, and they're so beneficial.
They are. Well, first of all, breath. If we didn't breathe, what would happen? And it also helps because a lot of us, especially under stress, and our nervous systems become shallow breathers. And all of these exercises are so important because when you put more oxygen into your body, it goes into your bloodstream and pushes the blood through more fully. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And what you said about becoming shallow breathers, like I teach a lot in law firms. That's kind of my specialty because that was my past. So I do a lot of corporate work. And people, when we start a simple breathing exercise or just notice where your breath is going, a lot of people are breathing just into their throat and when I started too, I was breathing shallowly because my body was so tight, it couldn't relax to get further. But just focusing on deepening the breath gently with patience and kindness, consistently breathing a little bit deeper until eventually, if you can breathe in and out of the stomach, feel the belly rise and fall with every breath, it's kind of an indication that you're in a good state, you're relaxed. And that immediately calms the nervous system, belly breathing. It has it's a mirror. If you're breathing deeply, you're going to be calm in the mind and emotionally and in the body. If you're breathing shallowly, then you're going to be tense.
That's it. Lara, thank you so much. I can't believe the hour's over already. It has been wonderful and such great, powerful information to share that people can just do in their car. Well, I wouldn't suggest doing the cannabis journey in your car. But you can trying the breathing techniques to help you, or if you park your car before you get out, if you're going to a meeting, and it's really important to be on your game, you can take a few of these breaths because it goes into your brain and helps your brain think clearly. Would you agree with that?
Less than 2 minutes, you can completely change your energy level, your mindset, your vibe. Before a meeting, I used to do this all the time. Just go to my desk or the bathroom, breathe for a couple of seconds, and you can change your entire state so easily.
Which then helps every aspect of what your meeting you're going into, or your work, or dealing with difficult people, whatever it might be. So yeah. Lara, thank you so much. So grateful for all this great information. I want to thank Bridget, my assistant, my right arm, my left arm. I'm so, I don't know what I'd do without you. So thank you. I want to thank you, the listening audience, for taking the time out of your day, out of your life to be a part of this podcast. And my hopes, desires, dreams are that you will receive what we're trying to offer you through talking about these different techniques and modalities, and how you can work on yourself to have the best life you can live in this personal one-time experience in this body that we have today. So thank you for taking the time. If you're going to be in Charlotte tomorrow, I'll be at the Bag Lady at 1516 East 4th Street in Charlotte, and I'm there from 2:30 to 6:30. So stop in and say hello. I would love to meet you and answer any questions you have. If you like the podcast, subscribe, like it, so you don't miss one exciting episode. And next week, I'm having back Dr. Jim Alvino. And Jim is a manifesting and forgiveness expert, as well as a business coach and other things. So we're going to talk to Dr. Jim. And I hope you have the most amazing weekend. So until next week, as always, I leave you by sending you love, blessings, and gratitude. Know how grateful I am that you're in my life in whatever capacity you're in it, because not only are you my student, you are my teacher. And not only am I your teacher, I'm your student. And that's what we're here to do, to teach and learn from each other. And if you haven't heard these words today, let me say them to you. I love you. And if you have heard them, you just have another one to put in your hopper. So you are loved. You're never alone. If you need anything, speak it out loud. Ask your guides, your guardians, your angels, your archangels, your ancestors to step in and help you. Because if you do, they will conspire on your behalf, but they don't have the free will to do this on their own. So you need to ask for your help, or their help. And until next week, stay well. Take care and enjoy your summer.